the basic AVA screen, and normally it will be set up as to default to the setting my team's unsolved inquiries, and we'll go through the basics of each, but will include both cases that are assigned to, and let's go there, cases that are assigned to VACO, VA.gov tech support. These are the cases that we assign to ourselves to work. It's like picking in HRC. In this case, it's called assigning. So like, let's say I wanted to assign this to myself. There you can select one, or like selecting multiple emails, you can hit shift and select a group, however you want to do that. Yep, stop. Okay, let's unselect. All right, but just to show you, let's say that we were picking this one. So I'll pick that, and then up here in the top menu, we have the ability to assign. So I would click that. Brings up this dialog box. So action type, we're assigning. And assign to, it's already by default set to assign to yourself when you're using it. You're the current user. Now, you can assign to someone else. This would be rare, but just to show that is a capability, and you would type the name in there, and like for instance, there you type part of the name and it'll pop up here at the bottom. I won't do that yet though. So we'll cancel to back out of that. And you will get a lot of confirmation pop-ups like this. It's basically, are you sure that's what you want to do? Yes. In this case, yes, we're discarding the changes. We are sure, because save and continue will change details of the ticket, which we don't want to do quite yet. All right. So when you're in the basic AVA interface, like I said, you'll start with the default, which in this case is probably set to my active inquiries, the cases that are assigned to you. Now, just to look at the information that we have here, we have the case number, which is called the inquiry number, and it's somewhat similar to the type of case numbers that are used in HRC, but it just begins with an A for Ask VA. Now, this is an important column right here, inquiry days open. Now, like everything else, the SLA that we have for this is 10 days. Now, this one is 20. Now, this is one that's been passed around a bit. And just to look at the details, let's see. Yeah, there's multiple cases. See, we have the correspondence window here. Multiple messages have gone back and forth. And looking at the inquiry actions that just show how the case has been routed. It's gone back and forth between, let's see, it looks like Cody Tatum has handled this case before. And you can double click into any of these and it will show you information about that particular action. So this is about, he had sent a response to the user. He had sent a correspondence asking them a question. So this case is at 20 days because it was with another department and then it ended up being routed back. Now, when a case is rerouted, which I'll show you in a bit, it does not reset the inquiry days open counter. So the days keep accumulating. But if you send a correspondence or a message to the user and they respond, that resets it again to 0, and the status, the inquiry processing status, which is our third column here, will say reopen or new response. So here we have in the fourth column here, we have submitter question, and I'm not able to see if you guys are doing a raised hand in Zoom. I'm not able to see it, so just speak up if you want to stop me if you have any questions. But I'll also take questions at the end. Did you, Michelle?
No, thank you. Just letting you know we heard you. We will. Thank you.
Very good, very good. All right, so the submitter question, this is literally what the user typed into the field when they submitted their issue at askva.gov. We'll get into the specifics of a case when we're working through cases. All right, the next column over is the inquiry topic. And if you have a bunch of these, you can sort them. If you click on the little arrow here, you can sort them alphabetically. You can change column width. You can even filter, which is, this command is about the same in each of these columns. You can filter, group by, change the width. I wouldn't move them left or move them right. I've never had an occasion to do that, so we don't know why we would want to do that here. But yeah, the options are all pretty similar. Now, in the case of inquiry days, smaller to larger or larger to smaller, so you can sort them by the age of the ticket. And inquiry number. Probably won't need to sort by inquiry number, but yeah, so we have the general topic. This is user assigned, so it can be correct. Sometimes it's not correct, but when we work the case is really what we need to do. The triage phase of it, we really need to read the problem and then determine what type of an issue it is based on that. Now, if there's not enough information there, then we can reply back to the user through correspondence and ask them for more information to help us fill in the picture. We'll get into that. Let's see. This second to last column here, inquiry has attachments. The only occasion in AVA where I've seen that that's been used is if the user has been asked to submit a picture of an ID, photo ID, or a picture of some, or attach some other document that's needed to process their case. It's relatively rare, but you will see it. And inquiry has been split. That's something we'll get into, but basically, when you split an inquiry, if someone submits a problem that has multiple parts to it, and you need to reroute this message to more than one place to have, and I should explain to another rerouting, there are queues within AVA for a variety of different departments. So unlike HRC, if we need to reroute to education, if we need to reroute a medical related or medical records related ticket, if we need to reroute, then you can split the case so that instead of just sending to one and then closing the ticket, you can send to multiple places before you save and close. Doesn't come up that much, but it does happen. And I mentioned the rerouting, so let's go back into here. All right, so let's say that this case is something that our department is unable to handle, but we want to send it to the queue of the department that's able to best help them. So this is where we get down to this inquiry actions window in the bottom right corner. And a lot of times when you need to send correspondence or reroute a case, you will click on the plus for new action. So we'll do that in inquiry actions. I click on that. And here is where you choose what you want to do. You can assign it to someone specific. You can flag for supervisor, which hopefully you won't get too many of those, but currently these are ones that would be rerouted to Kimberly. And this is only in certain tier 3 type situations. They don't come up that often in AVA as much as they do in HRC, but it can be a situation. Mark is business inquiry. That's fairly new, actually, and that I have not had an occasion to use that yet, so I don't really want to comment too much. But same with Mark as crisis. Usually, there are keyword sensors that if an inquiry that a user sends in has certain keywords that indicate that the user may be in danger of self harm, then what we'll go back to that. Then what it does is it funnels it into the crisis queue. AVA does automatically. And to find the crisis queue, and this is where I start. And every day that I work on AVA, first thing I do is I click the arrow here at Active Inquiries, and we went back to our home screen to access this. You click on this arrow, and then you want to go to My Team's Crisis Inquiries, which is an entirely separate queue. And if there was a crisis inquiry, it would show up here. So what I do is I always check that one first, because obviously, the very real physical threat there is something that we want to make sure we can assist with as quickly as we can. Now, if there were a crisis inquiry in there, we have certain templates, or we have a template that is used in that situation. Basically, it directs the user to the VA crisis hotline and allows very trained, empathetic reps over there to help out the user. Haven't had to do that, thankfully, but that is what we would do. And the crisis template is within Teams. And let me bring that up here very quickly. Oh yeah, I forgot that I closed that. Let's see if you give me 1 second here. Here we go. OneDrive. We'll go to veteran support. Are you familiar, Rayon, with using Teams in this way?
Yes.
Okay, good,
Uh,
good.
what file are you looking for a specific file?
Yeah, I just want to show you where the crisis template is located. Okay, so
Okay.
within our kind of section, we are veteran support. Under standard response templates, let's see, crisis security. Oh, we have multiple ones now. Let's see. All right, let's see this one. Okay. So it's Shantae just changed the file name. So yes, this crisis security aggressive interactions email templates. Depending upon the situation, we have template responses that you can copy and then paste into. So let's see where do we paste? How do we send a message? Let's go back to that case we were looking at, and in this case, we would be sending a correspondence. So you click new response, and it will bring up this message text window with basic editing tools. But let's say, okay, so we'll paste, let's say we have the crisis message. We paste that in, making sure that we have chose the right one from that document to correspond to what the user is saying. But just general crisis message and directing them to the hotline, I think, is really the way to go. So let's see, we have the message in there, and then there are a number of things that we can do next. If we're not sure we want to send it yet, we could just click save, and it'll save it on the ticket, but it won't send it to the user. I don't typically use save and close. For most cases, though, if you're sending any kind of correspondence, whether it's for a standard ticket, standard type problems people experience, or a crisis situation, you could send and solve. So if you click send and solve, it'll bring up a dialog, and then it will literally take you back. And I'm not going to save that. Once you send and solve, it'll bring you back to your queue and any other additional cases that you may have. Now, let me get back to where we were there. So let's see, you see it keeps a draft on there anyway, which you can go in and manually delete if you want. Doesn't really matter a great deal, just as long as you aren't sending blank messages or things that are inappropriate to the user, not what they asked for. All right, so here's our template. Normally, like I said, you can send and solve, or if it's a situation where you want to send the message but you don't want to close the case yet, and here's what I like to do. This is a scenario where, let's say you want to contact the user, but you also want to redirect the ticket to a different queue. If you just click send and solve, you don't have the option to reroute. It will literally just close the ticket, and it will show up anything that you send out, any case that you solve will show up in my solved inquiries. And so here's a list of cases that I've solved. It's goes back a little ways. All right. Two different ways you can get to the default. You can click home, or you can click this little suitcase here for inquiries. It'll always bring you back to your default. All right, let's see if there was anything else there I wanted to talk about. Oh, I'll also make a second draft. Okay, so if you just click send, and I'm deleting this draft because I'm not actually going to send it. In fact, I'll delete the other draft while I'm in here. You can also just select individually and delete the draft. Now, if I had just clicked send where I wanted to contact the user but not close the case yet, that sent email will show up at the top of this correspondence pile. It'll be organized by date, and you have what kind of a message type it is. It could be it'll say reply to VA, and that's coming from the user back to us. There are also system notifications that are generated that a new case has come in. It will show that here. And notification, same time. Okay, this and response. This for response from VA. That's recording any outgoing correspondence from us to the user. It will all show up in this column. And let's see, let's go back. Any questions so far? I know it's a lot
Yeah,
of information.
yeah. I have a question.
Sure.
Actually, but so Ava pretty much looks similar to exactly like Dynamics, but I just wanted to ask, like, do we communicate directly with the users in Ava?
Yes, we do. That's what the correspondence is.
Okay,
See, when a person uses Ask VA, they have to provide an email address. So that is the address to which any correspondence we send through AVA goes to whatever email address they specified when they signed up
okay.
to sign
Uh,
into the system.
Sounds good. And then is there like do you know like the rough estimate of how many cases that come in our queue on a daily basis or
Oh,
weekly?
yeah, this is much less than HRC. It's gone in fits and spurts over the last couple of years, but I've noticed, especially now since EVSS Lighthouse is drawing from the same queue, um, yeah, you might get 10 to 20 in a day. I mean, that's just a rough estimate, much
Okay,
less than HRC.
gotcha.
All right, let's see. Let's go back here. Okay, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's imagine that this case has something to do with a particular medical facility. Like, let's say they need to contact their provider or something of that nature, and they need assistance with that. So that would be a reroute. So we'll go down to inquiry actions and click the plus symbol. And we'll go to reroute. And I would say that this is this is something that I use fairly often. I think in AVA, a lot of it is sending people to the right queue since users don't always know exactly which categories and keywords to input. So, okay, I said that this was regarding medical, VA healthcare. Route to medical facility, PATSR. This is the drop down menu you would want to use for routing to anything like that, or anything I believe related to My Healthy Vet. It can route to the proper coordinator for handling. So we would click on this and we'll say yes, and it will bring up additional choice here, which medical center. So with that, let's go to va.gov. Sometimes they may know exactly and give you the information about exactly where they need to contact. So you could, let's say, Seattle. Okay, Seattle VA Medical Center. So you could start typing the name and it would come up. But that's not always the case. You might have the details, the veteran details, which let me back out of this for 1 second. See here on the ticket screen, the second column, inquiry details is where you'll spend most of your time. But when you go to veteran details, it will give you typically, yeah, okay, so this man is in Georgia. Well, don't know if it's a man, but anyway, that can be helpful. But I found, and let's see, why is va.gov not running? There we go.
I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
Regarding on finding the right medical facility, if the caller doesn't verify the medical center, right? So when you go to veteran details, do you just do you just add the right medical facility that's the closest to their zip code, or
That's
how does that work?
exactly right. And this is why I bring this up. Find a VA location on the homepage of va.gov. You can go there. And have you used this before, Rayon?
I've never used the website yet.
Okay, so you could type in their zip code here. So, you can get that from their file. And that's usually what I would do is search by zip code. And then for facility type, you click on that. I would just keep it at VA Health. And let's say, all right, I'll use my zip code, VA Health, and just leave it at the default setting, all VA Health services. So we search, and so the red dot is basically the center of that zip code, and we have a few options. We have a clinic. We have another clinic. There is a VA hospital. Yes, the VA hospital, which is, number 3, which is right there. That is typically, it's somewhat difficult to route AVA cases to specific clinics, especially in more rural areas. So what I would do based on the zip code that you're working with, route it to the closest VA medical center, closest, or VAMC. So let's say that it's Man Grandstaff. So we'll go back here, get back to where we were. And we'll type that here. It should find it there. So we would click on that. And here's a key part. And each one is numbered too. Now, I certainly have not memorized all the numbers for the centers, but that's another way. If you happen to know the number, the 3-digit number, you can type that and it'll work the same way. So let's see. I believe that was 668. Yes, 668. Okay, but you don't have to. don't have to know the number, just the name is good enough. But here's the key part, the description. This is where you put in your notes about what the user needs help with. And you can keep it brief, just a couple of sentences that clearly state what the user is looking for, what problem they're having. Once you finish that, go scroll down just a little to reroute reason. Now, I've almost always used wrong queue, and wrong queue in this case means that our queue, vacova.gov tech support, is not the right queue to handle this particular issue. So I would always mark wrong queue and then save and close. And that will perform the reroute and it will remove it from your queue. Now I'm not going to do that. Is all that clear so far?
Yes.
A lot of information. It's in practice, it'll make more sense.
I do have one question.
Yes.
So the macro tier 3, the queue that we are in,
Right.
is there like a form or is there like a document where it states like what type of issues we're supposed to work on?
Okay. That is just something that you will. No, there is not. Short answer, no. That is something that you will learn as you work more of these cases. But it should mirror somewhat a lot of what you're seeing in HRC. Sometimes, though, there will be some odd requests that might require a little bit more research. And speaking of research, this is a tool that we've been authorized to use. Have you used this Copilot chat that VA
Yeah.
has authorized?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so you have a bookmark to that. You can search for that and ask for any information, and whatever information you get back will, of course, with any AI, you want to make sure and double check that it makes sense. And if phone numbers are provided, you want to double check to make sure that the numbers are correct. I haven't run into a case where the information is completely wrong, but like I said, with AI, we just need to use the tool responsibly. And I know you're familiar with some of those logistics. Let's see. All right, so okay, let's go back into that case. There was some more I wanted to show you before we run out of recording time. All right, so I showed you from the case view the veteran details where we can get information about their location. Now, here are some other submitter details, and it can be that the user is, let's say, a beneficiary, or they're in some other way representing the veteran. So if their information is different, they would fill it in here. Dependent details, haven't had to use this too much. Attachments, that's like I said, if they attach a screenshot of an error, that's a big one. That whenever there are attachments, a lot of times it'll be screenshot of the error so that the tier 3 team can see and try and replicate to help research. Submitter inquiry history. Now, what this does, under the username of the person who sent this ticket in through Ask VA, it will show if they have past cases that they have submitted. And this can be key. I like to check and see if they have a history, because sometimes you'll find that there will be a double submission where you'll find two different case numbers, but the submitter question is exactly the same. So if that's the case, let's say you'd go into the duplicate, because we can just close the duplicate. You'd go into inquiry action and you would just say solve, if it's already been solved in the other duplicate, and then type in already solved in, and then the case number of the other case that is the duplicate where the issue is already addressed. You type that information in there, solved reason, resolved or duplicate, and then you would save and close, and that would remove it from your queue. All right, let's see, let's go back in here. All right, so like I said, this is the submitter inquiry history. We've got their history of cases they've submitted under that username, and you'll see all the various, their question, the veteran's name, the topic, whether it's solved or been reopened. Now, veteran inquiry history is the next column, and that's anything that a confirmed veteran who is signed in to Ask VA, LOA3, I believe, is someone who's signed in through sign-in service. It will show those here. And related, I've never really had to use that. That's only for people who run reports, and I have not been doing that. So let me stop again at this moment. Do you have any additional questions yet, Rayon?
At the mo
Yeah.
at the moment, no, I don't.
Okay.
Just want to let you know we have like less than a minute left till the
Yeah, on the
call.
recording. Yeah, let me. Okay, I want to show you something real quick about. We have templates within AVA, some standard response templates. Now, if it's not something that you need to do further research on using the Copilot, and you know what response you want, if we scroll down below the text field to see this area, active standard text, and this is keyword searchable, I will use the asterisk. You always want to